Hey guys, Technomentary here with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to compare the iPhone 11 Pro with the iPhone 8 Plus. In this video, we're going to talk about the differences, the similarities, and overall performance between these devices going in 2021. This is going to be pretty applicable anytime you're watching this video. We're going to compare to help you determine if you should buy the 8 Plus versus the 11 Pro, or if you're looking to upgrade from the 8 Plus to the 11 Pro, if it's worth upgrading or not. But before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are in the market to buy one of the newer phones or are looking to get a discounted price instead of paying full retail price, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section. So let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So the first thing we want to mention about the iPhones are their release date. So the iPhone 8 Plus, as you can see here, was released in September 2017, and the iPhone 11 Pro, which was released in 2019, around that same time frame of September, where Apple releases its flagship phone. So 2 years difference between the phone, and what has changed so far. We're going to talk about that in this video. But before we do that, first let's take a look at the size difference of these two phones. As you can see, the 8 Plus is actually bigger body than the 11 Pro. That's because the Plus sizes are what used to be known as the bigger size, and Apple has rebranded that to the Max sizes. So right now, to do an equivalent Apple to Apple comparison, we would have to compare the iPhone 11 Pro Max, because the Max are what used to be the Plus size of it. So the first thing wanted to note, but we want to do this comparison just to give you an idea if it's worth getting the Max versus just the regular 11 Pro. Also, as you can see in the back glass here, both of these are the space gray edition of it. As you can see, the shade of space gray on these phones are slightly different. The 8 Plus is much darker versus where the 11 Pro looks like it's more natural space gray of it. And the other thing you notice is the finish on the back here that determines that the 11 Pro has more the matte looking finish versus the 8 Plus, which is more shiny on it. And then the other thing you'll notice between these devices was that starting with the 8 and the 8 Plus lineup is when Apple started to use the glass back to allow wireless charging. So that's the one noticeable difference. Both of these does have glass back. And then looking physically on the back itself, you'll notice that of course there's the triple 12 megapixel lens versus that dual 12 megapixel lens. That's the big difference. The third one is the Ultra HD that's available on the 11 Pro that's not available on the 8 Plus. And then physically you'll notice that the Apple logo has shifted on the 11 Pro to the mid versus where in the past it used to be on the upper side. And the one thing that we have seen Apple has started with the 11 lineup is that they started to remove this actual print of iPhone. So of course this phone is not fake. If you're ever buying one and you don't see that iPhone label, no, it's not fake. It's just Apple decided to move away with it. Not sure why. I actually kind of liked it when Apple put that label. So that's all on Apple. So if we're comparing the phones side by side, you know, of course the body is bigger as we mentioned, and that also is a reason why the 11 Pro is lighter than the 8 Plus. The 8 Plus has a weight around 7.13 ounce versus the 11 Pro, which has 6.63. So almost a half an ounce heavier if you're looking to compare it, and you feel slight negligible heaviness with the 8 Plus if we are holding it, and it almost feels like, you know, they're easy to hold on your hand depending on what size of hands you have. The 8 Plus does feel really big in terms of it. And the other thing we want to talk about is the actual bezel size. If you look at the bezel here, of course 8 Plus looks like it has a lot more speakers. It's the only noticeable difference you'll notice. And if you really look at the other pieces here, not too much going on. The side button or the power button, as you can see on the 11 Pro, is much bigger compared to the 8. And then the top part, as you can see here, shinier versus that matte finish. So it's weird because on the 8 Plus you have that shiny back, but on the 11 Pro you have more the shiny part of it. And the next thing we want to talk about in terms of actual physical hardware is the actual display itself. As you can see right off the bad. The 11 Pro does have that all screen back here. That's that full back. And the 8 Plus has that top notch and the home button still there. That's pretty much the last generation of flagship phone from Apple that had the home button. So if you missed the home button, you're not going to find it on the newer phones. You're going to have to be stuck with the 8 Plus, although Apple has rumored to have a SC 2020 edition where they brought the home button back, might have a plus version of that, or the SC Max. They might rebrand it later in mid 2021. Yet this is all just rumor. We're not quite sure if Apple will go about doing it. Let's talk about the screen between these two phones. You'll notice the display of these two phones, of course, because the iPhone 8 Plus is bigger, doesn't necessarily mean you have more space on the screen. Because the 11 Pro does have an all-body screen, the actual size comparison between these is that the 11 Pro has a 5.8 all-screen OLED Super Retina XDR display compared to the 8 Plus, which just has that 5.5 LCD Retina HD display. So that's sort of the difference between why the price between these two phones are astonishingly it has increased. The 11 Pro as a new phone lines up around that $999 tag, where the 8 Plus is that at that $599, $699 price tag. So almost $400-$500 difference if you're buying it brand new off retail. It's because that OLED display. Other thing to mention that's different between that phone is that the actual brightness between these two phones. You'll find that the 11 Pro has a 1200 nit brightness versus 625 on that LCD Super Retina. So that's a noticeable difference. And of course, the resolution size has changed as well. The 11 Pro has a 24 by 2436 by 1125 resolution versus the 8 Plus, which has a 1920 by 1080p pixel. So a lot more resolution on your 11 Pro with the upgraded LCD. And let's talk about the other part about these two phones is the memory configuration, the storage memory configuration that you can get between these two devices. Of course, both of the phones are started at that base 64 storage that you're able to score on. Whether you get to look to get more out of the phones, you're going to get that 64 gig. The other thing about the note about these two phones are that they have a different mid-grade level. So you're able to get that 8 Plus in 128 gig, and it can, in some of the models that are discontinued in 2021, is that they used to have the 256 gig as the highest you can get, which is the mid-grade for the iPhone 11 Pro, is that you have that 256 gig, and the maxed out version on the iPhone 11 Pro goes up to 512 gig. So if you're looking for more storage in 2021, you're going to be looking at the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max for a lot more storage. And last thing we want to talk about is the color of these phones. The iPhone 11 Pro comes in pretty much all the colors you can get on the 8 Plus. You have your space gray, your silver, and your gold. But on top of that, the one that you'll find unique to 11 Pro lineup is that midnight green, which we don't have here, but that's the unique color Apple has introduced. So 4 colors versus 3. If you're really picky about the color, that's the one thing you'll notice. And the other thing we want to talk about is the chipset on these phones. Because these are 2 years apart, of course, the chip technology has changed between these devices. The iPhone 11 Pro has that A13 Bionic chip versus the iPhone 8 Plus, which has that A11 chip. And that chip, we'll talk a little bit more in terms of the hardware and the software piece of it and how that affects the overall performance of this phone. And that's the last piece around the hardware we want to talk about is the battery. Of course, the battery is a really important factor when it comes to these phones, because you want a battery that lasts a really long time. And if we talk about that battery aspect of these phones, is that the iPhone 11 Pro has a bigger battery. It's updated battery. It has around on just a little over that 3,000 mark, where the iPhone 8 Plus has around 26 75 mAh battery. So the battery has grown with the newer phones. Of course, the Max version has a bigger battery than the 11 Pro if you're really comparing it. And that kind of gives us to the next point, where the video playback, which is a good indicator of the battery, on the 11 Pro it's around 18 hours of video playback compared to the iPhone 8 Plus, which gives you 14 hours, so almost 4-hour difference if you're streaming Netflix, YouTube, or something that's really intensive on just watching videos. That's a good indicator that you'll get more battery life of it. And if you went to even the Pro Max edition, which is the like equivalent of the 8 Plus, you're going to get 20 hours of video playback. And so let's move on to the next phase of these phones, which is the actual software on this phone. So what kind of software can you expect out of the iPhone 8 and the 11 Pro? Well, one thing you're going to notice is that we have updated both of these phones to have iOS 14, and that's that one thing we want to talk about is iOS 14 on these phones, or both are compatible. But the one thing you'll notice between these devices is that the iPhone iOS is only one step from 13 from the 11 Pro, which released it, so it just got in one update. What's going to happen is that between, even though both of these phones are able to work on iOS 14 phenomenally without any issues, is that you're going to run into an issue where the iPhone 11 Pro outlasts the 8 Plus in terms of the updates that they get, just because of their release years. The iPhone 11 Pro will get update at least for another 3 to 4 years. We can't quite say the same thing about the iPhone 8 Plus. It's going to probably get maybe 2 to 3 years, at most 3, of major updates to come. So if you're looking for a phone to use for at least 3 plus more years, we would probably recommend getting the 11 Pro just solely on the update. And why does update matter? Why do we want to talk about that? It's because once a phone starts not getting the update, all of your favorite apps starts to be not supported. So you have supportability issues. As you see here, we're able to run most applications current day without any issue. That's because they're running iOS 14. But if the phone were to get outdated, you're going to have issues with app compatibility, app slowing down, just that whole aspect of not getting updates and not getting that love that it would get on a regular device like it would on another phone. So that's it for pretty much the review of the software. And as you can see, both of the phones, if you're using it for social media, whether you're using it for video streaming, for your entertainment purposes, both of these phones does phenomenal job. Your creativity, your social media, your productivity tools for work and such, both of the phones will still do a great job in 2021, no doubt. Even for FaceTime, calling, all of that stuff, both of these phones can actually do that. And now comes to kind of sort of is what kind of phone are you looking to get in terms of feature wise, and what kind of money you're looking to spend. And that's the last aspect of these phones we're going to talk about, is the camera. So both of these phones does photography mode. So by no means that both of the phones you're still able to do photography mode. So if you open up the camera and here, you'll notice photography mode is available on both of the phones. And by the regular thing, you'll notice the iPhone here, both of them does allow you to do a lot of the photography. The only difference here in photography mode is that on the 11 Pro, you have this new high key light mono, which isn't available. Aside that, both of the phones are able to do pretty much similar sort of video recording. They are able to record at that 720 HD all the way to 4K at 60 frames per second. The one thing, of course, is because the iPhone 11 Pro has that triple lens, you get 4 times the zoom versus only 2 times the optical zoom on the iPhone 8. So if you're looking for wide angle video recording or even photography, you might want to consider the upgraded triple camera versus the dual camera, because the dual camera does not or cannot support that ultra wide angles on it. And finally, to answer the question whether you should upgrade from the iPhone 8 Plus to the iPhone 11 Pro, well, it depends. If you're looking to get a phone solely on camera and a bigger battery that will last you longer, and the phone that will get updates a lot more longer than the iPhone 8 Plus, and looking to really get that display that you have, that OLED technology really does bring display really well because of the brightness, because higher intensity and resolution that you get out of it. If those are some things you're looking for, you might want to consider upgrading to the 11 Pro. But if you're fine with keeping that dual camera, that still does really phenomenal job, you still have that home button, you don't have to move to the Face ID, which can during these times, it's really troublesome because you're gonna have to enter your password each time you try to use Face ID if you have a covering on your face, versus the 8 Plus, which still has that sort of home button to it, and you have that old iconic home button that allows you to do a lot of that, and you're not willing to spend the price that, even if you're buying it pre-owned, that's $700-800 for the 11 Pro, versus with the 8 Plus, which you could probably score under $300. So if you're looking for a budget phone, deciding between it depends if you're looking to spend a lot more money, almost double the amount for 11 Pro, versus the 8 Plus if you're looking to buy between these two phones. So that's our overall review of it. You have to decide sort of what phones work for you. Hopefully this video is helpful. If this video is helpful, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, if you guys are using either of the phone or looking to upgrade, we want to hear from you guys. What's your thought and opinion between these two devices? Do you like one versus the other? Why and why not? Please make sure to hit that comment section up, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.